Welcome to Fearless Finances, where I try to take the fear out of your finances. Today we're going to be talking about your credit score, what goes into it, and how to improve it. And some of the things that you might think actually have a big impact on your score might not. So make sure you stick around. Let's get to it. The number one thing you need to know about improving your credit score is to pay your bills and pay them on time. Period. I mean, there's going to be some other variables, and we're going to talk about them here for sure. But ultimately, the biggest thing you can do to keep your credit score moving on up or staying on up is to pay your bills. Even if that's just a minimum payment, which is something that I advocate in a lot of my other videos. I'll link one of those at the end of this. Let's talk about some of the other things that go into your credit score. I've got 5 of them lined up for you. And the first one on the list is too many credit checks. And how many have heard of this one? Right? This is pretty common. And it does have a negative consequence to your score. Now, these need to happen in rapid succession to have it create a major impact in your score. The credit scoring entities look at this one because they're thinking your credit score isn't good, or you can't get the financing you're looking for, or you're scrambling around to get lots of financing. Here, they're looking for the possibility of volatility in your ability to pay credit. If you're scrambling around to different car dealerships trying to get the best financing deal because the first one or the second one and the third one didn't give you a very good deal, then that will negatively affect your score. But it will not negatively affect your score as much as not paying your bills. Which brings us to the next one on our list, canceling your credit cards. This one is a bit of a balancing act. We all know if we have too many sources of credit out there, and especially ones that we're really not checking into, they could be victimized for fraud. And this could go on for a while, and we might not know about it if it's an old card we never use, right? So the likelihood might be to want to cancel some of those old cards, and that's okay. But it's also important to keep in mind that if I cancel all of my old cards, I'm erasing those sections of my credit history. So we want to balance this canceling old cards out. The ones that I normally cancel out are the ones that have annual fees or started to impose annual fees. I've also canceled some out when I didn't feel like they treated me very well. For example, I've had some sort of dispute with a vendor and I didn't feel like that company advocated well for me. Then I've canceled those cards. But normally I leave them in place, which brings us to our next one. Before we get back to the other tips, if you would, please subscribe. I've got lots of great content for you just like this that'll help you out with your finances and help you become more fearless. The other thing is if you'd like this video, other people will get it. And I'd also like you to put any questions you might have about your finances in the comments, because I'm always looking for good content that people are really interested in. Now, back to the regular programming. Some people will sometimes say that having too many credit cards or too many sources of credit out there is not good for your score. The opposite is true. If I have a wide variety of different credit options out there with many different credit limits, and yet I keep my spending patterns to an amount I can afford, that actually shows the scoring entities that I'm responsible with my credit use. There was a period of time where I could have literally bought a home on credit cards. And I guess I probably still could, although it probably wouldn't be a home in California or New York. Yeah, probably not. But because I keep my use of those credit cards to an amount that I can manage, and I illustrate this to the scoring entities by paying my bills on time, not getting delinquent. This illustrates to them that even though I could use this much credit, I'm keeping my spending patterns to an amount I can afford. Which brings me to another myth that usually comes up around credit scoring. That the credit scoring entities know how much money you make. So they use this then to judge how much credit you should have. No, that doesn't go into your credit score, not at all. Now, a bank or lending institution or a credit card company that's offering you a card probably will ask for your income and some information about your expenses to determine if you're a good credit risk. If they want to give you this line of credit, but the actual credit scoring entities, they don't know how much you make. They judge your ability to pay on the fact that you do pay. That's why it's our number one thing to improve our credit score. One thing that can negatively affect your score pretty dramatically, in addition to not paying your bills, is having your balance too close to your credit limit. The range here is usually 70 to 80% or more. This is why we always want to keep our spending on our credit cards to a much smaller ratio to what the actual credit limit is. When we're getting too close to that credit limit, the credit scoring entities think there's something going wrong for us, and they start to get a little worried and they begin to drop your score. And I will tell you, they drop it significantly. Years ago, we used to offer travel packages to come to Mazatlan, Mexico for our insurance classes. And I would collect all the money from the participants, and then I would pay for that off my credit card. This was tens of thousands of dollars. Super worth it to me because I got tens of thousands of frequent flyer miles off of somebody else's purchase. However, even though that credit card had a $35,000 limit on it, when I would then charge, just like that, $33,000, $34,000, my credit score would plummet. In fact, I remember during this period of time, it went down about 200 points. When I paid that off at the end of the month, I thought it would just bounce back up. But it did take a couple of months. As a result, it might be worthwhile in instances like this to spread the love around to a few different credit cards. I kind of miss booking these trips because I'd also have the $30,000 sitting in my money market collecting interest before I paid it off. It was kind of a big boon all the way around. But back to the regular topic, the final one. If I pay off my balance every month, it will improve my score. No. The fact that you pay at all is all they look at. And if you think about it, if you're somebody like me who uses your credit cards for all routine expenses and pays the full balance every month, and if you routinely use the same credit cards for this, your balance is never zero. You see, by the time they get your payment 30 days later, after you got your bill, your balance likely is close to what it was before. It's never truly zero. And besides, the scoring entities don't care about that. I mean, granted, it's great because you have no cost of interest and it's still good for you. So always pay off the balance if you can. And if you can't, again, I'm going to show you a video that talks about what you should do instead. So always pay off your balance if you can, but please keep in mind it doesn't do much to solve your credit score. Now, what's been happening on my channel is lately I've been doing a lot more political posts. None of us are going to be financially secure until Trump is out of office. I hate to say it, but it's true. Trump is very volatile, and he does not necessarily have our best interests in mind. We all knew about it, at least those of us who even took the time to look up Project 2025. I'll put that in the description. But if there happen to be special financial planning questions just like this, like what goes into my credit score, how much money should I save for retirement, how do I liquidate my retirement accounts, whatever it might be, please jot it in the comments because I want to make sure that I offer you content that's very important to you. If you'd like those other helpful tips about what to do with your credit card debt and make minimum payments only, click right there. I'll give you some advice on that so that you can be fearless in your financial future. See you soon.